Hey guys, and welcome to season 16 of Supernatural Into the Twitterverse, the AR experience, because aren't we all living in season 16 now? I can't believe I'm actually filming this video after like a month. The script has been done for like 2 weeks. I don't know, I'm just starting now. By the title, you're probably thinking many people convinced me to make this video, but it was a total of 3 people, and that's all it takes sometimes, you know? The truth is, I do have a lot to say. It mostly upsets me that some people are like, oh, the finale was fine, you just made because Destiel is in canon. And like, no, that's not it at all. Like, yeah, Destiel being canon in the end would have been pretty neat, but that wouldn't have fixed the ending. It wouldn't have fixed the show. People saying that Destiel being canon would have made Supernatural the best show ever are, in my opinion, very, very wrong. And if you think your gay ship being canon automatically fixes a show with so many flaws, then I would ask you to watch better shows and truly start evaluating what a same-sex ship means to you. Because most queer people I've heard talk about that issue agree with me that it would have been cool, but that just doesn't erase Supernatural's past. It doesn't automatically make it good representation. But I'll get more into that later. The truth is, Supernatural is a deeply flawed show and not the magical can do no wrong show I've heard so many people claim it to be. And I get it, I've been a fan of Supernatural for years. I used to love and be obsessed with it, but that doesn't mean I'm just gonna overlook all its problems. And I love how I said I used to be, but like, what has this past month shown but that I'm still obsessed with it? I just want to say you can love something and still criticize it. Talking about problems in a show doesn't make you a hater. I also wanted to add that I've never stopped watching Supernatural. I know a lot of people are upset that so many people who stopped watching Supernatural years ago or have never watched the show to begin with and only know about it from Tumblr are putting in their 2 cents. That's not me. I started watching Supernatural when I was in middle school when it came out and watched the whole first season as it was airing. Afterwards, I didn't really have access to a TV and watching shows on the internet wasn't what it is today. So I would watch random episodes now and again for years until I think season 8. All seasons kind of blend together after so long. But I think either when season 8 or 9 were happening, I finally sat down and watched all of Supernatural on Netflix until I got caught up. And I've never stopped watching since. I watched every season when it came out. Yeah, sometimes I waited until many episodes came out and watched like half a season in a single sitting because I had uni or work. The point is, while I do think it's okay for outsiders to give their opinion on the show, I'm not an outsider here. Maybe in the last 3 years I wasn't as active in the fandom like I used to be, but I would check in once the season was over because I'm the kind of person who needs to see what other people are thinking and agree with them. I mean, I think at one point, what season ending was that? But I think at one point my Tumblr username was like Peppermint Fallen Angel. Does that give me Supernatural fandom cred if I had a Fallen Angel Tumblr username? Because I did. And I think I also had a Croatan Supernatural username on Tumblr. Something like that. And so does that give me cred? I don't know. Now, I also made 3 of my best friends in the world thanks to this fandom, and coincidentally, okay, no, but they're the same 3 people who convinced me to do this video. Now, there's a few things I'm acknowledging right now in this intro because I won't get into it deeply on the video, and one of them is misogyny in Supernatural. I feel like we all know it and it's a huge problem, but I would need to make a whole separate video to outline how it's probably one of the biggest problems this show had. That and the lack of diversity, like people of color were mostly silent and barely there, or villains. There's also tons of people who already talked about the treatment of women in Supernatural. So yeah, I'm not going too in depth into it right now, but just know that I see it as a problem. I'm only covering this in relationship to the final season and finale though. I'm also not going to go too in-depth about the quote-unquote real finale, aka the finale that was planned before COVID, because it's just so confusing and honestly sounds even worse than the finale that actually aired. There's not a lot of information out there about what it was supposed to be, and I'd rather just concentrate on the actual finale that aired, because that's the one that matters, I think. I will mention some of the stuff about it briefly in some of the later points though. So yeah, this was only the intro and it was super long, so buckle in, get a snack, put your feet up, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a long one and I'm sorry if I make it confusing. I'm trying my best here. I want to add a few disclaimers first. First off, I don't blame any of the actors in this. I don't think they manipulated or had any big role in how things ended up happening. I recognize that COVID is something that was unexpected and severely influenced the final 2 episodes, and I expect no actor to take part in something that could endanger their lives and their families. However, I feel the writers and producers could have done a better job. If you're someone who is sending hate to any of the actors, seriously, reconsider your life choices. It's just a show, and these are real people who probably did the best they could. All of my sources will be linked down in the description as always. If I get anything wrong or I'm missing information, feel free to correct me or add to it in the comments nicely. I'm only human and I'm trying my best. A lot of the sources are just me rewatching the episodes though, so there's that. And I want to thank Twitter user at BlueStar86 for making a thread on this, because I was having trouble laying out the script, and that thread and all the replies really helped me flesh out the outline of the script, so thank you. The thread will be linked down below as well. I'm also gonna warn you, I'm gonna give you a lot of how I would have done it, or basically fanfiction summaries that I'll never write in here because I just have ideas and I want to share them. I'm not a writer and I'm not claiming to be a better writer than the supernatural writers, but I just wanted to show you my alternative that I feel fit better with the story and leave less weird plot holes or disregards to character development. You can comment yours too if you have any. You're free to do that. Finally, I want to add that this is all heavily based on my opinion. Of course, you're allowed to like the finale and all that, but I would just like you to sit down and think about how other people are receiving some of these points. Maybe you're not queer or neurodivergent. Maybe you never experienced depression or ableism. So maybe sit down and listen to not only my perspective but others around some of these particular topics with an open mind and try to understand our point of view. Either that or just don't watch the video. But don't come for me because you thought the finale was fine, because for me it wasn't. And if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, why does it matter? Then I ask you, why do you care so much that you click on this video that is obviously about the finale, huh? Where is Eileen? I want to start with Eileen because this is one of the most infuriating things for me about the finale. Where the hell is Eileen? Now, if for some reason you don't know anything about Eileen, she was introduced in season 11 and she's a hunter who lost her parents and her hearing when she was a child to a banshee. She's also the granddaughter of a man of letters, which is a big wasted opportunity in my opinion, but I'll get into that. Now, from the first episode she showed up, I adored Eileen. We don't see a lot of female hunters in Supernatural, and for those people who don't think misogyny has anything to do with it, I was surprised to find out that she's the 6th recurring ally of the Winchesters. Yeah, and she was introduced in season 11. Let that sink in. Not only that, but she was a deaf hunter and incredibly good at it, which is a great representation, you know? Until it wasn't. I especially love the almost insane chemistry she had with Sam, and that even though her initial purpose, killing the banshee that killed her parents, was fulfilled, she still wanted to be a badass hunter and save people. In season 12, we're treated to her appearance once again, and we find out that she kept contact with Sam, and not only that, Sam had actually been practicing sign language to better communicate with her. I shipped it. What can I say? They were adorable. Of course, you know the history between Sam Winchester and women. We know they have a pretty good track record of dying, because you know, men pain. Now let's go to the big first problem. She's killed in a later episode, and I'm not gonna go to the explanation of the plotline because it honestly was just a lot of meh writing in my opinion. But she's killed by a hellhound. Hellhounds, in case you don't know, are invisible in the supernatural universe unless you have glasses with holy oil or something like that. Who cares? The point is, if you don't have the glasses, the only way to know they're approaching is if you hear them. But oh, Eileen is deaf. How could she possibly hear them? So yeah, let's just introduce this badass hunter and kill her off because of her disability. Great, fun, not disrespectful at all. Now years pass, literally years, and now we're in season 15. We find out Eileen was in hell, but for a series of plot reasons I don't want to explain right now, she's a ghost on Earth. Now a lot happens, but the point I want to get in is that there's a resurrection spell and they revive Eileen. Now this was huge. This is season 15, the final season, and we're getting a romantic interest for Sam. It has to be Endgame, right? Right? Well, we're treated with a relationship. Not all good moments. We have Sam interfering with Eileen's hunting because he's an overprotective manly man, but hey, how many girlfriends has Sam lost in 15 years? Then they separated because Chuck uses Eileen against Sam. We got very few of Eileen afterwards, which was very disappointing. just mentions here and there in a date with Sam, which we don't see. I still hope that it was going to be endgame. Like, why introduce a romantic interest if it wasn't gonna be endgame, right? I guess I forgot I was watching Supernatural. In despair, the infamous episode 18, people start getting Thanos snapped. The boys assume it was Billy, since she previously threatened to get rid of everyone who doesn't belong in the universe. Since Eileen died and then was resurrected with a spell, she's part of the list. She doesn't belong. We get a texting sequence between Sam and Eileen as they're rushing to find her to be able to save her, and then she just stops texting, so we assume she vanished too. When Sam arrives, he only finds her belongings and half a written text. We find out later on the episode it was God, and basically everyone on Earth is gone except for the Winchesters without Cass, because, well, we know what happened to Cass. And yes, I'm including Jack as a Winchester. Shut up, he's their son. Even with that happening, I still had hope. Of course they were gonna undo this, right? There's 2 freaking episodes left. Eileen is gonna come back. Except they never mention her again. Even in the next episode, episode 19, Inherit the Earth, where Jack restores everyone. I was thinking, oh, Sam is gonna rush back and look for Eileen, but he doesn't. He's just like, oh, it's just me and my bro alone in this world cause man pain and all that. The funny thing is, I'm reading the wiki for Eileen and it says, and I quote, in Inherit the Earth, Jack restores everyone erased by God, which includes Eileen. Okay, how do you know that? Because if it's something someone said off the show, I'm gonna call bullshit. Why oh why would Sam not go look for Eileen if Jack returned her? It makes no sense. They ended in good terms. They didn't even end it. Like, she just poofed, you know? They were in a freaking relationship. Now listen, I get the last 2 episodes were filmed during COVID and it was hard to get actors, etc, etc. But like, there's ways, you know. In the final episode, Sam marries a blurry-faced woman, and once again, 0 mentions of Eileen. Some people think blurry-faced woman is Eileen. And like, you idiots, how is that Eileen? Even if the actress wasn't available because of COVID, here's what they could have done. Show the back of an actress who was available that looked like Eileen. Photoshop Eileen into a picture of a wedding with Sam or with their son. I could have done the Photoshop. Show Sam using sign language to communicate with his wife. Have her voice at some point. Like, there were options to make this endgame, but no, Sam marries a blurry woman. And now, I'm not done with the potential of Eileen and Sam's relationship, because that ending for Sam was BS on its own, and I'll get into that later. But Eileen was a legacy, and Sam was a legacy. In my mind, before I watched the last few episodes, I thought they were gonna rebuild the Men of Letters and have their own place to help out hunters and train new people. Because there's still monsters out there as shown by the vampires in the last episodes. There's probably still ghosts out there too. So yeah, there was a potential of them too rebuilding the legacy of their grandparents to make the world a better place. But whatever, I guess Party City Wixham is what we got. I just hate how her character was treated. You think after years of backlash on their treatment of female characters, the writers would have improved? If anything, it shows how little they actually care about them. There's a lot more things related to Eileen I could talk about, but I will mention some of those later on as they are part of a larger theme. For now, let me move on something sort of related. Where is everyone actually? I get everyone got revived or whatever, but did they all? We never heard from them again. Now we can assume characters like Jodie and Donna were fine because they were from the current universe, although I'll talk about them more in a later point. What about all that alternate universe characters? Where is Charlie and her girlfriend? Did they stay snapped, or did Jack also rebuild the other universes and put them back where they belong? I want to believe it's that, you know, Jack just popped back all of the other universe and returned everyone, including the other Winchester brothers, back. There's no evidence of this though, not even a mention. Did a character like Charlie, who had already received the bury your gays treatment once, not deserve a happy ending? And even if, let's say, making a bold assumption here, they did get returned to the original universe, did their universe get fixed so they could live a happy life there, or did they just return to a broken Earth? What about Dark Kaya's universe? Did the bad place come back and still remain a hell to live in? I know not everything has to be said and some things are meant to be left open and up to interpretation, but this just doesn't feel like it. It feels like they just forgot or didn't care enough to give these characters an ending. And we're not talking about just any random characters. Both Charlie and Bobby were huge characters, especially Bobby. Charlie deserved to be in a relationship, especially after it said that she didn't want to let herself love someone else, because of course she comes with all this trauma from living in hell on earth. I thought the least they could do was show her for a second living in her cute house with her girlfriend. And Bobby, I'm gonna discuss Bobby more when I talk about a very important theme in the story, but I always felt like all Bobby should have met Jody. Jody and Bobby raising a bunch of wayward girls and potential hunters who have just tied into my own little idea of how the perfect ending would have been. Of course, this is just me writing fanfiction in my head, but I'll share with you my ideal finale at the end of the video for fun. What happened to Rowena? Now, unlike Eileen, I'm not gonna get into too much detail on Rowena's appearances in the show, seeing as she's in a lot of it. I was actually surprised to find out that she has first been in the show longer than every character except for Bobby, Destiel, Dean, Sam Crowley, Lucifer, and Mary. And second, that she surpassed Lisa Braden as the most recurring female character, second to Mary Winchester. So basically, she's been in a show a lot. Might I add that having a character that shows up in season 10 as the second most recurring character just adds to the supernatural hates women feel. Wow, really, 10 seasons where Lisa was the second most recurring female character. Anyways, we all know Rowena. She's my top 5 characters. She's the mother of Crowley, who, by the way, both Crowley and Max Shepard deserve way better, and I kind of wanted to include him in this video, but I'm trying to focus on the finale. I thought I'll leave a side note here, though, that they both deserve better as a character and Mark as an actor. You should read more on that if you don't know what I mean. Rowena is a powerful witch. She's a bajillion years old, and she's just lovely. Even though she's originally a villain, considered one of the main antagonists in season 10, she eventually becomes fond of the boys, and it's actually shown that Sam is sort of her protege. Sam and Rowena's relationship is one I was kind of fond of for some reason. I can't explain exactly why. I just like their interactions. I like Rowena's interaction with most of the main characters, to be honest. I cried that apparently there's a deleted scene where it's shown that Rowena and Charlie were in some sort of relationship. I would have loved to see that. Anyway, I could write poetry about Rowena, but that's not what we're here for. What the hell happened with Rowena? So after she died, which by the way, I cried so bad. I loved her relationship with Sam, and it was just, a lot. It was so a lot. She becomes the Queen of Hell, which is super interesting and exciting, seeing as she's not a demon. She's just a damn soul, yet she's still so powerful that she's just the queen now. It's also nice to see the Winchesters have a link in hell again after Crowley's untangling and out of character death. But once again, not talking about that today. Except then they just wrote her off in a strange way. So one thing we learn when we see Rowena in hell is that hell really didn't change her because, she didn't get tortured or anything like that. She's still fond of the Winchesters, telling Dean and Cass to mend their relationship, which is not good at that point. She also shows regrets about her life, including her treatment of her son Crowley, who we know from seasons ago was not the best. She also expresses she's happy to be the Queen of Hell and tells Sam that he did the right thing and not to have any regrets, which is really important because her death is one of the main reasons Cass and Dean are fighting. It is also shown that she treats hell differently and has reshaped it to be a better place. She throws parties for the new souls, for example, and has completely cut out demon deals since she wants human souls to go naturally where they belong. I thought it was a weird decision because Rowena wasn't exactly shown to be fond of humanity, but I guess it was fine. If anything, it shows how much being with the Winchesters changed her. Now we know from Crowley's time as King of Hell that there's always been some sort of demon unrest on who the king is and how they treat the demons and souls in hell. We see this a lot when we compare how Crowley managed hell versus how Abaddon or Asmodeus did. Crowley treated hell like business, a corporation, while Abaddon just wanted chaos. We also learned that demons are not exactly pleased with her changes, which is to be expected. But then in episode 13, Sam and Dean go to hell and find out they're not welcome there anymore because Joe set up a trap and their demons really wanted to get out of there. My question is, why don't they? Is there really nobody else who could have taken the throne from Rowena who is just a damn soul? And yeah, we just never know from Rowena ever again. That's the last we know. Demons don't like her. It just feels kind of disjointed. Like, why present us with this idea that demons don't like Rowena and then just leave it there? It gets even more confusing when in episode 15, Cass and Jack call up on a crossroads demon. This is how we find out that crossroad deals are not a thing anymore. The demon is clearly not happy about it. We can assume he finds being a crossroad demon now boring, since he begs Cass to let them join in their adventure or whatever. Then in the end of the episode, we see this demon again taking the girl who ended up being the serial killer who was killing people in the episode. So I guess what we can assume is that Rowena only wants souls that deserve hell, and clearly this girl is destined for hell. But why is the demon taking her? I even read an EW recap of this episode that says this. Sylvia is then put in the back of a cop car that's driven by the crossroad demons? That's something that might come back around. Except it doesn't, and we never see them again. Just feels like such a weird setup. Even if she's destined for hell, she's still a young woman, teenager, I'm honestly not sure about her age. She still has years of person before she's destined to go to hell. What are we supposed to conclude about it? I mean, if I think about it, maybe since she's already destined for hell, he can make a deal with her and make her life shorter or something. But once again, that's me assuming. There's no explicit confirmation that this is something Rowena is allowing, or if this is just a loophole the crossroad demons found. Actually, if it is a loophole, then you would think crossroad demons still had tons of work, since there's tons of people who do something bad enough to get sent to hell for. They could just be looking for those people and have no reason to be bored in the first place. Once again, I'm making tons of assumptions. But Cam, sometimes things are meant to be open for interpretation. Okay, yes, sure. But this just seems like such a small thing to be left open. It feels more like a future plot point being laid down and never explored. Makes me think of Chekhov's gun. If you don't know what it is, I'll quote from the wiki. A dramatic principle that states that every element in a story must be necessary, and irrelevant elements should be removed. Elements should not appear to make false promises by never coming into play. I would say, in my opinion, that the crossroad demons taking Sylvia is an irrelevant element since nothing comes out of it. This is something that one of my close friends was waiting to see turn into something and then it just didn't. How was it even mentioned again, I think, afterwards? And tons of similar irrelevant elements are seen through the last few seasons. I'm gonna actually touch on some of those later on. Rowena was once again another female character who was just completely dismissed during the finale. And this was a big character. She helped the Winchesters so much during their journey. She deserved at least a mention in the finale. Heaven is okay, I guess. Now, since we just covered Chekhov's gun, I think we should just cover another plot point that just seemed abandoned and patched up in the finale, and it's the whole thing with heaven and its lack of angels. I'm mostly confused as to whatever happened in heaven, so let me know if maybe I misunderstood or I'm forgetting something. In season 13, we find out through a series of events that heaven is losing power because there's a lack of angels. Unsurprising, seeing how through the whole series, angels just keep getting massacred. Naomi makes a reappearance in this episode, which to me confirms that this is an actual important plot point. Why bring in an old villain? Why even have this whole conversation? Upon hearing that Gabriel is alive, she asks Castiel to bring him to them since his power can keep heaven running. Without Gabriel, the angels will burn out, heaven will crumble, and all the souls currently in heaven will fall to earth. Meaning all those ghosts will be roaming the world, and that's a huge problem. She also says the angels will do the best they can until then. Another thing I want to emphasize is that Naomi seems resigned to their fate, as if heaven falling apart is maybe just one of those things that is meant to happen since quote-unquote everything ends. Their meeting ends with Naomi saying that heaven's gates are closed. Later on, Castiel does tell Gabriel about the problem in heaven, and Gabriel is reluctant, but in the end it seems that he'll do it. He will help heaven, right? Except no, Gabriel dies again. The next time we get a heaven storyline is when Jack dies and the MT follows him to heaven. Naomi wants to protect heaven on all the angels and souls in there, but that's about it. Duma, another angel, then takes over heaven and she makes it a bad place. She also manipulated Jack into killing non-believers and a bunch of other bad things, including making new angels from humans. By doing this, Jack is able to halt heaven's demise for a while. However, Castiel eventually finds out and stops this. In the end, Duma dies. My question is, was the amount of angels Jack made enough? because it sure doesn't seem that way. We also kind of get the idea that Castiel is losing power at the beginning of season 15 and is partially attributed to heaven not being the same. We don't see Cass suffering from this much afterwards though. He seems pretty standard power for angels after the fall. We don't hear from heaven again until Amara takes Chuck there and it's greeted by like a dozen angels, which is very strange. Is there only that little amount of angels in heaven, and is heaven okay with that now? It doesn't seem to be falling apart anymore and nobody mentions anything. To me, it seems like they either forgot or just wanted us to forget that they even birthed that plotline. Then in the finale, Jack just fixes heaven, so I guess everything is fine. Once again, not referencing the lack of angels or the need for an archangel. I mean, I guess we can assume that Jack made it so heaven could stand on its own and not need any angel juice to power it up. It's just the fact that they made a point of needing an archangel to keep heaven running that is kind of weird for me, because they had 3 possible archangels that could have taken over: Gabriel, Michael, and Alt Michael. Now I'm gonna write a little bit of fanfiction here, but I want to talk about Michael and the potential storyline they missed. Michael escaped from the cage and we find out he actually has a pretty nice relationship with Adam. Now tell me if this wouldn't have been a better alternative to Jack Fixes Heaven. Michael has learned about humanity through Adam. He's fond of him, and when asked if he wants to help heaven, he wants to. Why not? In heaven, and now knowing what humanity is like, he sees the flaws in it, and maybe with some input from Adam, he tears down heaven's walls so all souls can coexist together and be happy or whatever. Adam gets to see his mom and maybe even see his dad, although his dad doesn't deserve him. With Michael's archangel use, he keeps heaven running and the souls happy. It would have been an interesting development for both Michael and Adam, who basically got none of that. And it would have made more sense than Jack and Cass just fixing heaven off screen. How that would have changed Michael's role in episode 19, I don't know. Maybe it's a double bluff and he just wants to lead them to God so Jack can defeat him and then he goes to heaven and God doesn't kill him. I don't know. I just feel like that would have been a better storyline instead of lazy writing we got. But that's just me. Jack is God. I want to briefly cover Jack is God and why I don't like it, since it ties with the next topic I'm gonna cover. I get that the whole point of Jack was that he was a blank slate and that he was gonna do good and change the world or whatever his mom said. Love that for him. I think you can change the world in other ways that aren't being God. I understand that there was a need for God, but just a wild thought. Amara is nice, isn't she? She could have absorbed God's power, Jack could have given them to her, and she could have gone on with both just like God and Jack did. And she could have kept going to her spas and tasting food around the world. What a good life for Amara, instead of living inside Jack. I think Jack had the potential to change the world in other ways. Once again, I know this is basically writing fanfiction. I'm just giving an option of something I would have liked to see that I deem better, as well as you can do so too, seeing as we're free to write whatever we want about the show. I think Jack was one of the last characters introduced in the show to show the found family theme we see through the whole series. He was their son, and Dean saying Jack is not family broke my heart. Because of course he is family. I get where Dean's resentment comes from, don't get me wrong, I do. But Jack looked up to Dean, and it would have been nice to see those two eventually have a good relationship and mentorship. Since I never saw Dean having kids of his own, I thought Jack would be who he taught everything he knew to. And I just feel like Jack abandoning everything when he didn't even really get a chance to live. I mean, how old is he by the finale? 3? I think it's sad. I think he also deserved to have a life and free will. It's kind of odd that he made a point to say he was leaving but took Castiel with him, because Castiel also deserved that. To live his life. I talk more about what I wish for those two characters in the end, or how I thought they would end, I should say. But this is a bridge to the next topic. Family don't end with blood. There's more to family than blood. It's a very popular quote said by Bobby Singer in the show's 3rd season, and Dean says it again later on. It was a theme through the whole series, found family. When people say it's a show about 2 brothers, no, it's more than that. It's a show about finding family where you least expect it. You have Bobby Singer, a hunter who becomes a father figure to the boys, the father they never had. He came from an abusive household, he lost his wife to a demon, he was known as the town's drunk, and yet he finds in the Winchesters the son he never had. And Bobby's a very important character through the whole 15 seasons, even after death. Without Bobby, they would have died way more times than they already did. So him saying family don't end with blood is the start of one of the most important themes through the story. Sam and Dean do seem to acquire a family through the years. Castiel, Charlie, Kevin, Jody, Donna, Joe, Ellen. I could keep going. I would even consider Crowley and Rowena part of the family. They get Mary back for a bit there too, and of course Jack. These recurring characters are so important to the plotline. The message of family is more than blood is very important to many people who do have abusive families, who for some reason or another feel like they don't belong. You can find family in other places. You can make your own family up with people who love you for who you are. And in the finale, well, fuck that, I guess. I think one of the things that bother a lot of us who have been watching the show for so long is how they forgot about everyone else. I get that the story started being about two brothers, but it evolved into so much more than that. Also, it seems kind of weird to me because on many occasions they point out how damaging their codependency is, to just afterwards boil it down to just two brothers against the world or whatever. I think a way to honor that would have been to have them all be a family in the end and not in freaking heaven. What the fuck was that about? Not gonna talk about that now. We'll get to that. I'll just leave it to why even propose a theme of found family and then just not end with it. It's just a show, be done with it. Well, yeah, so, I mean, if it's just a show for you, then once again, why are you here? I keep seeing comments like this on people's posts about the finale and it's just so confusing. I don't go out of my way to comment on things I don't care about. Like half of my friends watch Grey's Anatomy. I don't care about it at all. So I just don't comment on it. Imagine if I were to go to their tweets and reply, oh my god, why do you care about this show? It looks so bad. Would be weird, huh? So maybe consider that before watching this and leaving dumb comments like that. Let's move on. Let's talk about Chuck's finale read by Becky and the actual finale. My first question is Becky okay? Because the wiki says she was revived with everyone else by Jack, but how could you possibly know that? Like, would it have hurt to have a scene where everyone who got snapped just pops back up? And before you comment, oh, but COVID was happening, that's something they would have shot along with the scene when they got snapped for continuity's sake. You know, if they had planned shit well. Look, I know Becky was a hard character to like for me personally, and I don't mean because she was the quote-unquote craze fangirl or anything like that. It's the episode where she basically drugs Sam and then forces him to marry her that made me wary of her. But I'll blame that on the writers and not on her character. Anyways, I like how they show Becky after all those years. She is happy, has the family, and is selling custom supernatural merch on Etsy. I thought it was very cute. So of course I was upset when Chuck took all that away from her and then killed her off ? Okay, enough about Becky. This point really isn't about her, but I wanted to add that because I was confused when I was researching for this point and I saw she's considered alive. Let's talk about what she said about the finale and the actual finale, because we weren't supposed to get Chuck's finale, and that seems to be exactly what we got. For that, we have to go to episode 4 of the last season, Atomic Monster. As I mentioned before, Becky now has a family and she has the biggest Etsy for supernatural merch when Chuck visits her. What really gets me about their conversation at the start is how Becky explained that she's been writing domestic AU fanfiction, and that's what people like the best. Chuck dismisses her, saying people like monsters, and she retorts with a meh. It feels like a very accurate portrayal of most fandoms with darker stories. Source material is always gritty and tragic, then the fans write the most wholesome, fluffy domestic fanfiction about it. Personally, I'm not so much into AUs anymore. I'm more into canon diversions and fix-its. I like when the fanfiction is canon compliant to a point and then just veers off. My ideal supernatural fanfiction and some of my favorites still has them hunting monsters and all that, but in between we get full chapters of domestic bliss. The fact that the writers are aware that the vast majority of the fandom was a happy ending says a lot. And to their credit, I think they actually believe it was a happy ending, but I will talk about that in a bit. Now let's move forward to when Chuck writes the finale, more specifically what Becky says about it. The villains don't feel dangerous. No classic rock, nobody mentions Cass, the climax is still, boys tied up with villain monologue is not original. Does this sound familiar to anyone else? Because it sure sounds like the actual finale to me. It also sounds a lot like most of the complaints some people had about the finale. The fact that she mentions that the villains don't feel dangerous is funny because Jensen Ackles once said that his favorite monsters were vampires because he always knew what to expect of them. Wait, wasn't that after the finale was already written? Chuck doesn't like Becky's critique, is anyone surprised? So he goes to write either another ending or add to it, not very clear. And this is what Becky has to say about it. It's so dark, it's awful, horrible, hopeless. You can't do that to the fans. What you did to Dean, what you did to Sam. Now if we're being logical about it, it's probably just another ending where they kill each other. Especially when we consider what happens in later episodes. But I don't know, there's something about how she described the finale that sounds familiar to me now that I know what the actual finale was. I know many people don't see the finale as dark, awful, horrible, and hopeless, but I'm not alone in thinking that that's exactly what it was. The idea that you can't escape your destiny, that the only way to reach happiness is to die. Sam has an okay life and looks like he's just waiting to die. For me, that was exactly the finale Becky described. The fact that the writers were so self-aware of what the fans didn't want and then went on to do exactly that, including the lack of Castiel, boring villains, and predictable outcome. Let me talk more about the actual finale. The amount of season 1 reference for starters was a little too much in my opinion. Like, yeah, I get it. Let's get back to the start. I feel like there's ways they could have shown those references without seeming like they had to overdo it. It's like they thought that if they didn't put an excess of these references, the viewers wouldn't understand what they were referencing. I think John's journal being there was fine. While it had been mentioned a few times through the last seasons, we barely get to see it. I also like how they use some of the same dialogues, although I wish it had been during the actual death scene. I would have liked to see more earlier references, like a good bitch jerk exchange, but most of all, I would have liked to see references from other seasons. But no, instead we got a vampire girl from season 1 that nobody remembered. I haven't watched season 1 in 5 years when I tried doing a rewatch, and then Netflix took Supernatural away while I was watching season 2. Because Netflix always does that to me. Takes every show I'm watching. Please stop that, Netflix. And I think it's safe to say most people are not rewatching season 1 over and over to know who this vampire was. I think even if you were, she was such an insignificant character during season 1 that you probably wouldn't have recognized her anyways. I can think of so many more characters in season 1 that would have been more relevant. It was such an odd choice out of all the characters who were fan favorites to choose her. I thought maybe they sent mass emails to everyone who was ever in Supernatural to see who was available because COVID, and she was the only one that replied, but that doesn't track. Samantha Ferris, who played Ellen in the earlier seasons, says she was never contacted to be in the finale, which contradicts the plan for the original finale, which supposedly had a bunch of characters reunited in heaven. This would have had to be planned pre-COVID, and we see Ellen's roadhouse in heaven in the finale. Why wouldn't they have contacted her? I think that's the kind of thing that feeds into the supernatural conspiracies. I think Ellen would have been such a weird character to leave out, especially knowing the actress was interested in it. Let me get a little more deep into each character in the finale. Well, there are only like 3, but yeah. Dean's ending. So Dean got a happy ending, question mark? I mean, a lot of people believe that, and the writers certainly think he did. I have never seen anything happy about it. I thought what happened to Dean was not only tragic, but also a very weird message to send out. For starters, we have the whole deal with free will. We learned earlier in the seasons that the Winchesters only had an illusion of free will, since Chuck had written their whole lives and even gave them literal plot armor. So once Chuck is no longer God and Jack says he's gonna be off the grid and not interfere with human business now, it means the brothers are free to live their life however they want. And what do? They keep hunting. Okay, I'm not mad at that. There's this whole scene where Dean goes for pie or whatever. It really rubbed me the wrong way. I felt it kind of reduced Dean's character to I hunt things and I like pie, when Dean is so much more than that. And I think we can see that with the fans' reactions towards his character. But yeah, real free will gave them so many options, but Dean didn't get to experience any of that. He's killed by vampires a few days later. Tragic, like why give him freedom if he's not gonna be able to enjoy it? I don't know, that really upsets me. The second thing that bothered me in that whole, well, he's now in heaven with everyone he loved and now he's happy. As someone who has suffered from depression and anxiety since I was a teenager, it kind of felt like the show telling me that things aren't ever gonna get better. The only way to achieve true happiness is when you die. Maybe that wasn't the intention, I know, but it certainly felt that way. Seeing a character like Dean who suffered with mental illness and candidly expressed thoughts of suicide in the past, someone who has shown that he wants more from life, seeing him only being able to be happy after death, I think that sends out the wrong message. And I think it's kind of weird to see this message from a show with a cast of actors who has been so vocal about mental health awareness. Wouldn't it have been nicer to see this character who suffers so much get a better life? Show people that, yeah, sometimes life kicks you in the face multiple times, but there's always tomorrow. Things do get better. And yeah, for Dean, it's easy to die because, he knows heaven is real and his whole family's up there. He knows Sam will join him one day. I'm agnostic, so I'm not so sure about that. I don't have any tangible proof that life continues after death, which, by the way, I have a problem with the concept of heaven, but I'll get into that later. Take a shot every time I say that. Another thing that I didn't understand is that if everyone was in fact revived by Jack, why didn't they attend Dean's funeral? I know, COVID, but it felt so empty and weird. Like, I'm sure Jody and Donna, the girls, all the universe people, so many people still left that would have liked to mourn Dean. I think the arrangement would have been harder to make, having all those people together and all that, but I would honestly have cut this scene, especially because, and this was pointed out by one of my friends, who did they really bury? Because look at this screenshot. Like, why is Dean's body so big compared to Sam? There's definitely something weird about it. Who were they burning? Hagrid? Okay, I'm mostly kidding, but you have to admit that it kinda looks pretty funny. On a sadder note, don't think about Sam taking Dean's body and carrying him to the Impala, putting it in the back and driving all the way back home, because I was thinking about that the other day and it ruined my day. Sorry about that. Well, I've never had to record a video in 2 sessions. This is a first for me, but there's a first for everything. Okay, let's talk about Sam's life and wasted potential. I can go and talk about Dean all day, but let's talk about Sam. Sam Winchester is the character that I think has been just done dirty for years now. When Supernatural started, they had all these amazing plot lines connected to him. The boy with the demon blood, Lucifer's true vessel, he almost cured Crowley, he was soulless at one point. Then it just kind of all went downhill, and I feel like he wasn't given as many interesting storylines as he used to. I honestly think that one of the best things that happened to Sam's character in a long time was his mentorship relationship with Rowena and his romantic relationship with Eileen. It was great to see him interact with these characters and see the side of Sam we rarely got to see. I also really enjoy his interactions with Jack. Like, I know some Destiel shippers are quick to say that Dean and Cass are Jack's dad. They dismiss that Sam is his dad too, and I feel like they just really were great to see together. Even though I dislike Sam's path after Dean's death for reasons I already explained, I do like that he got to be a dad because he was such a good potential dad. And if Dean Jr. isn't friends with Sam and Castiel, Garth's children, that world is truly cursed. There was something about the way Jared Padalecki acted in those last scenes as Sam that just made me feel so bad for him. Like, he never looks truly happy. He looks like he's just letting life pass by, and having a family is what Dean would have wanted for him. The wig is terrible, yes, but I will give props to the team for giving him Dean's watch. That actually made me unreasonably happy for some reason. Like, it was just nice detail there. I just felt that Sam had more potential, and that's it. Say Eileen forever, fuck blurry face woman, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're lovely, but you weren't necessary. Eileen was there. Now heaven. I'm going to be brief with this whole heaven topic. I'm not a big fan of the concept of heaven, and I think a show that really explains the reason why is The Good Place. Now, if you haven't watched The Good Place, you should, because it's a really good show and I don't want to spoil anything. If you have watched it, you'll know where I'm coming from. The idea of a heaven where you stay the rest of your afterlife infinitely and are just given everything you want seems kind of boring to me. Maybe it's amazing at first, you literally get anything you want. Part of being a human is slowly discovering new things and working up towards them. The finality of it all. The idea that one day we're not gonna be here and able to do those things certainly adds to the experience. That is, if you're neurotypical. Where are my neurodivergent people who just stay in bed all day knowing they should do things but physically unable to do and just adding to the stress? High five. My point is, I feel that at some point where you're given everything you want, it might become stale and you might want there to be more to life. But no, you're just stuck in heaven and there's nothing more to it. Once again, this is my own personal opinion of the idea of heaven. I'm sure tons of people would love to live forever and just do new things for eternity. Eternity is a long time though. Will there be a point where there's just nothing new you want to do? When you watch every show, every movie, play every video game, because that's what I would do in heaven. Ooh, book, every book. Although I guess time does pass slower in heaven, meaning the more and more discoveries and creations keep being made until humanity finally reaches extinction. If anything, that shows how important creative jobs are. They're what will literally fuel people's interest in heaven. I've gotten way off topic, so I'm just gonna sum it up. John and Mary Winchester have a house down the road. Yeah, give me a car and then drive wreck the opposite fucking way. No thank you, fuck John Winchester. I also want to add, what happens to like Jess, for example? She died being in love with Sam, but now when Sam gets to heaven, he's in love with Eileen or a blurry faced woman. That's not cool for Jess, just a thought. But enough of heaven. I just don't like the idea of heaven, and that's me. Queer characters. Now let's take a moment to remember and mourn the queer characters who deserve better. There's characters like Rowena and Crowley who I believe are queer characters, but it's all due to deleted scenes in Talkatudit show. Same with he, they, Sam, and Jack. While I think it's pretty cool that the actors are saying these things, the fact that it's done outside the show leaves a lot to be desired. Right now I want to talk about specifically these characters that had a lot of potential, but I'm aware that they're not the only ones, and I want to give them a moment before we get to Dean cast. I want to first start with Charlie. We've had two different Charlies, and they were both done so dirty. The first Charlie died at the hand of Nazis in the most unnecessary, bloody way. As actress Felicia Days, who played Charlie, pointed out, Charlie is small and skinny. She could have fit through that window. And it's true, Charlie was clever and very intelligent. She wouldn't have been caught the way she did. We got a second chance at Charlie with Alt-Universe Charlie. Now, she didn't have the enthusiasm of OG Charlie. She was from the post-apocalyptic world after all, but she was still very lovely. It's a tragedy we didn't get to see any of the scenes of her and Rowena's road trip, because the confirmation that there's deleted scenes where they're canon hurts me. I love both characters so much. Like, I would literally kill for a spin-off with those two. Now let's talk about Charlie and her girlfriend Stevie. In the now infamous episode 18, we find out that Alt Charlie and Stevie, a hunter we were introduced to earlier in the season and who also belonged to the alt-apocalyptic world, are dating. They're enjoying breakfast together and talking about potentially hunting together. It was a really nice start to the episode, you know, until Stevie just got Thanos snapped. We know what happens next. All the characters get snapped too and they're revived off screen, which once again, I still don't believe in. Just let the characters be happy for real. Is that too much to ask? Last two people I want to talk about are Kaya and Claire. I think you can tell I love them because I haven't done Supernatural fan art in years, and I am here talking on top of Supernatural fan art, and it's Kaya and Claire. But yeah, I don't think I need to explain who Claire and Kaya are, but just in case you're someone who stopped watching a long time ago, or you just haven't watched at all and are curious to see what I have to say. Claire Nowak is the daughter of Castiel's vassal, Jimmy Nowak. She appeared as a child in an earlier season and was brought back in season 10. She's constantly running away from group homes, and that's when Castiel finds her. He had a moment where he remembered that he was actually wearing someone else's body. It was weird that they hadn't brought it before, to be honest. Anyway, we find out that after Castiel took up with Jimmy's body, her mother had gone missing in search for him. They eventually reunite, but Amelia Nowak dies. Or she's killed, basically. Is that shocking? Sam and Dean decide to take her to Jody Mills. She ends up becoming a hunter and lots of things happen. She becomes a pretty recurring character at one point until the actress who plays her, Catherine Newton, got really big, appearing in movies like Detective Pikachu. Kaya Nieves is a dreamwalker. Her parents were killed due to supernatural stuff, as per usual in this show. Dreamwalkers can walk through different universes using their minds. We meet Kaya in a drug treatment facility. Jack actually finds her there and needs her help, so he helps her escape. Eventually, Kaya ends up at Jody's just like other girls with supernatural connections. Honestly, I'm still upset the spin-off didn't happen. I think Wayward Daughters would have been amazing. Anyways, back to dreamwalking. One of the alt universes Kaya sees a lot is what is referred to as the Bad Place. The Bad Place, just as the name indicates, is a terrible world filled mostly with unknown dangerous creatures. In the bad place, we find an alt version of Kaya, who is known as Dark Kaya. Shit happens and they end up in the bad place. Dark Kaya kills Kaya. Dark Kaya escapes to the normal world. This is when we find out from Jodie's word that Claire was in love with Kaya, and she's dead. Claire goes on a quest to find Dark Kaya and avenge normal Kaya, and that's basically the last we see of her. In the last season, we find out from Dark Kaya that Kaya is still alive and in the bad place. At this point, God is erasing all of the alt worlds and the bad place will be gone soon. So the Winchesters go to save her. As I mentioned, by this point it's 2020 and Catherine Newton is a very popular star now. So I'm not surprised that she didn't show up in the episode like Misha Collins said. She's just too expensive for Supernatural, and he's right. It would have been pretty cool to see them reunite, as Kaya asks very excitedly once she's out of the bad place if she can see Claire. I mourn the possibility of this relationship, as I love both characters. One of the reasons I wanted to tell their story too is because they have a very interesting start, and I think they're both pretty neat characters who would have been good for each other. I often wonder if We Were Daughters, the Supernatural spin-off who was gonna be based on Jodie and the girls living in her house, would have actually leaned into the relationship. I'm not 100% sure of the timeline, but I think the episode when it's revealed that Claire is in love with Kaya came out after the spin-off had been rejected. I wonder if in true CW fashion, they decided to make them queer for the brand of fake allyship they're known for. They knew that they would never have to actually develop the characters. I really wish we could see more of these two characters. They deserve better. Okay, since we're talking about queer characters, I think here's where we're going to talk about the Destiel Conspiracy. Now, I don't want to get too in-depth with this since I feel like this is what most people are talking about even a month after it all went down. Actually, now that I'm recording, it's been almost a month since the series finale, so wow. Feels like eternity. This video is supposed to be about everything that went wrong in the final episode, so I couldn't just not talk about that, right? I promise the video is almost done. I wrote that in the script, but I'm lying. I lied in the script, okay? So what is the Destiel Conspiracy? Well, first, I have a few things to say for context. Let's start talking just briefly about queerbaiting. In case you don't know, according to Wikipedia, queerbaiting is a marketing technique for fiction and entertainment in which creators hint at but do not actually depict same-sex romance or LGBTQ representation. They do so to attract or bait a queer or straight allied audience with the suggestion of relationship or characters that appeal to them, while at the same time avoiding alienating other consumers. There's tons of shows that have been accused of queerbaiting over the years. Some famous ones like Teen Wolf or BBC Sherlock. Supernatural is probably one of the top ones though. It's interesting because when looking through the queerbaiting wiki, they list Supernaturals as a series that portrays a same-sex relationship after being criticized for queerbaiting, and they reference Castiel's confession. In my opinion, Castiel's confession does not change the queerbait nature of the show for seasons. We're not talking like, for example, this show that I haven't watched because I'm trying not to watch anything new, Killing Eve. But this is what I know from what people have told me and this same wiki. Killing Eve was originally criticized for queerbaiting the relationship between the main characters Eve and Villanelle. I have no idea if I pronounced that well. In season 3 though, apparently they kissed, which changed things. Now this was only 2 seasons, and since there's more seasons to come, this relationship can still be explored, which would remove the whole queerbaiting aspects. Season 1 and 2 would just be considered build-up. Once again, I have not watched the show. Let me know what you think if you have. A show that is not on the list, but I did feel queerbaited on when it was coming out was Hannibal. Of course, if you watch season 3, we find out that it was just build-up of the relationship between Hannibal and Will. Through season 3, it starts feeling less like queerbaiting and more like, oh my god, this is actually gonna happen. And it culminates in the series finale with a very obvious show of these characters are definitely into each other in their own fucked up way. Being as vague as possible, because if you haven't watched Hannibal, I can't recommend it enough. It's one of my favorite shows ever, and I recently rewatched it and I still love it. Anyways, what I mean by showing these examples is that there were only 2 seasons before showing that, hey, this is actually gonna happen. Supernatural for me starts feeling queerbaity more on season 5. I know there's some moments people point out in season 4, but for me personally, it's season 5 when I was like, fuck, I kinda cheated this, and why does it look like they wanna do stuff to each other? It progressively increases, hitting its peak I think in season 8, and let's not forget the infamous scripted I Love You that was later changed to I Need You. The point is, that's 10 seasons of will they won't they. That's 10 seasons of queerbaiting. And it's not like the confession in season 15 happened and then there were seasons ahead of going through with it, like in Killing Eve or Hannibal, which got cancelled unfortunately, but was supposed to lean that way. We get the confession in the third to last episode of the series, and then we get nothing else. Not even a mention afterwards. One love confession at the end doesn't erase 10 years of queerbaiting. So no, I don't think I could classify Supernatural as not queerbait show. It most definitely still is. Now we know what happened. Destiel confesses his feelings for Dean and experiences a true moment of happiness. Due to a deal he made with the Empty that if he ever experienced a true moment of happiness, he would be taken back there. He gets dragged to what is now known as Super Hell. For the people out there who are like, oh, there's different kinds of love, you're just assuming it's a romantic confession because you want it to be. Let's disregard that it has been confirmed as an actual romantic confession, and let me show you why you're wrong. Because some of you are just dense for no reason other than probably you're homophobic. Okay, so I'm gonna read Destiel's words, but I'm gonna read them with my own voice because we do not want to hear me trying to imitate anyone. I always wonder, ever since I took the burden, that curse, I wonder what it could be, what my true happiness could even look like. I never found an answer because the one thing I want is something I know I can't have. But I think I know now. Happiness isn't in the having, it's in just being, it's in just saying it. The one thing I want is something I know I can't have. Let's see. Destiel has Dean as a friend, so that covers platonic love. Destiel is like a Winchester. He's like family, that covers familial love. I mean, Dean has said Cass is like a brother before. This is not me speculating, this has happened. Gee, I wonder what kind of love Destiel is talking about that he can't have. Like seriously, consider why you think this is not a romantic relationship, because it very clearly is. And Mitch's delivery was on point and it was very special. Unfortunately, what happened afterwards wasn't. Before I continue, I want to add a little bit that happened on December 11. And you might keep seeing bits like this along the way because new stuff keeps coming out and I have to keep updating the script even though it's already finished and edited. The full confession scene was leaked and we get a little insight to Cass's thoughts through the scene. In this we get the, I'm gonna call it iconic line, still beautiful, still Dean Winchester. So yeah, still Dean Winchester trended. Supernatural trended yet again. It's been trending like almost every day, honestly. Like Supernatural, a character in Supernatural, or the actors, it's insane. The fandom obviously went crazy over this tidbit because the implication that Destiel has been looking at Dean for years and thinking he's beautiful, it's just, I don't even have words for it. This is a lot. I wanted to add this not only because it's trending, but also for everyone saying it's just platonic. I'm just, excuse me, but you're wrong. A lot of people wonder why some fans are upset. Destiel died on his own terms. He got to say his part. He said happiness isn't having, it's being, it's saying, so why? Well, if you know anything about being queer, took the time to learn about what being queer is like, or knew the history of queer characters in the media, then you would know. Now, I'm not gonna get into details about Hollywood's haze codes because that's a long thing that could be its own video. I am going to leave some links in the description about it. I recommend watching it so you understand a lot of problems queer people have with how queer characters are portrayed nowadays. In essence, it's a code regulating the moral content of feature films designed so that Hollywood could police itself and avoid or minimize outside censorship. As you can imagine, same-sex relationships were heavily censored. But what you might not know is that queer characters were demonized. It wasn't allowed to show good queer characters on movies, which is why there's still to this day tropes like the evil lesbian or queer-coded villains, looking at Disney for the last one. The trope that was related to Destiel's confession is referred to as bury your gays. Once again, not gonna go too in-depth with that, but I'll leave some resources down below. Basically, it's a very prevalent trope where queer characters are seen as more expendable than straight ones and are killed more often. Very famous cases of this are in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and more recently, The 100. So of course, when Destiel confesses his love and immediately dies, people scream bury your gays. More specifically, a variant of it, Out of the Closet Into the Fire, in which a character dies literally after coming out. There's tons of implications to this too. As most people pointed out, the coming out is often perceived as the hardest part, but it's the aftermath that usually ends up being the worst. Because you come out and it's there out of your chest, but then you have to deal with how other people might treat you afterwards, and that is an ongoing battle until the world changes or you die. You're always coming out, you're always wary of the people who know about you and what their reactions towards it might be. In Supernatural, Castiel is basically ignored. Like, he came out and that's it. He dies. End of the story. Nobody in the show seemed to care. It's obviously gonna leave a bitter taste. And I know that in the final episode they show that he's not dead, but with Jack they reveal heaven and whatever, but it's hard to believe something when you don't see it. That's all I'm gonna say. There's something else I personally saw in the fact that Castiel went to super hell right after his confession. If you've been raised religious like I was, for example, you were taught that being gay is bad, and if you're gay, you're going to hell. The trauma that comes with that is unimaginable. And then you see it happen to a TV character, a character that for some people, including me, is a comfort character. It's literally showing you something that harmed you mentally as a child or as a teenager. I love how I said I wasn't gonna get too into it, and that was like 4 pages or something. I'm so sorry. Anyways, let's talk about the actual Destiel Conspiracy and the aftermath of it. By the way, I want to point out that I don't think the Destiel Conspiracy is inherently harmful in any way, like some people seem to claim. The conspiracy itself is not harmful. It's the people who threaten or attack the actors and other people involved that are harmful. And that's thankfully, I think, only a very small percentage of the fandom. This is not COVID vaccines are gonna inject microchips kind of harmful. This, if anything, is just people finding out something suspicious and wanting answers. I'm gonna put it in the simplest terms I can. Basically, there's this whole conspiracy that the confession we saw in episode 18 was heavily edited and was missing some parts. Dean was supposed to reciprocate. It didn't help that apparently Jensen Ackles filmed the real scene on his phone and people are screaming #release the tapes. Is this true? I honestly don't know. There's so much conflicting information at this point. Misha Collins said that what we saw is what it was. One of the writers said stuff and then clarified they were talking about music. It was a whole mess. To put even more salt on the wound, the Spanish dub came out. I live in Latin America and I didn't even know they dubbed Supernatural, but anyways, it came out and Dean reciprocates. Castiel says te amo, which by the way is a very romantic way to say it in Spanish in my opinion. Tons of people are saying that a te amo is not inherently more romantic, but the only people I know that say te amo and are not romantic are like 13-year-old girls to their best friends when I was a tween. Don't know if they still do that. I'm almost 30. Like, I don't think I've ever seen people say it to their pets. That's because in Spanish, at least on my side of the world, we have te quiero, which is also romantic, but it's also pretty platonic in most cases. Te amo is telenovela level of love confession. Dean responds to this with y yo a ti, meaning and I you, which is now everywhere. Like, the Spanish dub confession is such a meme and I low-key love it and I think it's hilarious. Anyways, back to the conspiracy, this just brought more fuel to it. People were asking, is this a rogue translator or did they have a real secret script that was thrown out for the show? Apparently other dubs started coming out, and from what I gather, Portuguese kind of also reciprocated, the Indian one too, but I'm not 100% sure right now. The Italian one was fake and the German one used a slur. So yeah. As of December 13, I found out that it was not a rogue translator. It was a rogue team. According to Guillermo Rojas, Dean's Spanish dubber, on a live stream he did on Facebook, the dub director was the one that changed it, and it was regarded as a sort of clarification. Basically, the director and the cast saw this confession from cast and concluded that Dean had to love him back, but the original source was too subtle about it, so they just added his response. Wow, just wow, love them. They should have written Supernatural. Actually, I know they haven't recorded the dub for the last 2 episodes, but I kind of want to watch them live because I want to see if they add anything else to the script. I think that would be amazing. This also brought forward a movement from fans, #they silenced him, #they silence you, #something to say, and it was mostly directly attacking the CW, since this is not the first time one of their shows has done this. As I mentioned before, The 100 is one of the shows that also experienced the bury your gays trope, and in its moment, I remember it being a huge thing, even though I had only watched season 1 of the show and was very confused. Is there a conspiracy? I don't know. I do love harmless conspiracies though, so Jensen, please release the tapes. But maybe like a month after my video is posted, because I might have to re-record this part. Also, I just noticed that I wrote in the script that there's gonna be new dubs for the Spanish one, but in the live stream I mentioned, Memo Rojas, Dean's voice, said that as far as he knows, there's not gonna be any redubbing of the episode, so I don't know. I hope there isn't because I want to keep it like it is. Please keep it as it is. Thank you. I want to add that tons of good things came out from this. Fans being brought together and demanding not to be silenced and to not silence queer characters is very important. It's the end of 2020 and there's still a long way to go with good representation in the media, especially in the mainstream media. Fans also raised so much money for the Trevor Project and NAMI with fundraisers like the Castiel Project and Dean Winchester is Love. That's amazing. It just shows how good things can come when people join together for a cause. And people dismissing it as a harmful conspiracy when so much good came from it, it's really disappointing. Now before I finish this video with a super long conclusion I wrote days ago, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jensen Ackles. A big part of this whole conspiracy thing had to do with Jensen expressing earlier, before the season was even out, that he didn't like the finale at first, but he was talked into it, which is kind of weird in my opinion. Apparently he was told he was too close to it, which like, what does that even mean? He also has been completely silent about the finale after a release as of today when I'm recording this, which is December 17. I actually waited a whole week to finish the script to see if he or anyone else said anything at the live stream event they did call Supernatural Fights On with Stacey Abrams. Nothing was said, it was just mainly about politics obviously, and then afterwards there's a weird long conversation about genital herpes, Jared Padalecki giving Seb Bruchet a weird massage at an airport, and some extra minutes of a gag reel. You should watch it, it's pretty fun. Anyways, as I was saying, Jensen Ackles. Some people, not gonna say names, were accusing him of not liking the finale because of Destiel. That didn't sit right with me because if you look at what little he has said about the final few episodes, you can assume that what he did not like about the finale was Dean's end. I can assume a few things from his interactions in social media, that the Destiel confession wasn't a problem with him. For one, he liked Misha's tweet about the confession, and then he also commented on a picture on Instagram of the person who designed his jacket in that episode with Cass's handprint on it. That wouldn't be that big of a deal except for the fact that he literally has not said much else except put up a picture with the piece of metal, aka the nail that killed Dean, on his Instagram. I think with just those three things I can assume his problem with the finale was Dean's death, but I'm just here making assumptions. I don't know what he's really thinking, but I do find it weird that he didn't post a goodbye message like other actors did. What I think happened is that he was uneasy about the finale, was convinced he was too close to it, and upon seeing the reaction tons of fans had over it, since his own uneasiness towards it come true, he just didn't want to comment on it. He was done. But once again, assumptions, I don't know. I think we should also take into account that it's not easy for actors to come out and talk shit about the show. Even if the show is over, even if there are no NDAs, actors can still be blacklisted and find it hard to work after things like that. You also have to take into account that, for example, Jared Padalecki is still working for the CW, Jensen Ackles still working for Eric Kripke. So it's not that easy to just say things. They could not get another acting job in their lives. And we have reached the conclusion. I know, unbelievable. Who knows how long it has been. I always had two endings for Supernatural. Everyone dies, which is the ending I give every single show, so I'm not disappointed in the end. I always say, I hope everyone dies when a show is nearing its finale, because I feel like that would never actually happen, and an actual ending with everyone doesn't die is an improvement of that. Boy, was I wrong with Supernatural. And I think my theory of everyone dying being the worst case scenario was proven wrong by the finale of The Good Place. I'm not gonna get into that though, because spoilers, but you should watch the show if you haven't. My happy ending was Eileen and Sam remake the bunker into Hunter Central. It's a place where hunters can go for help in research or spend seasons when they need to. I thought Dean would get his own bar, and like the Roadhouse, it would be a place where hunters could stop by, share thoughts, get some info and cold beer. Maybe Castiel will be there too. I for some reason thought Castiel would end up being human, especially after he seems to be losing power from heaven, which got dismissed, so whatever. Bobby and Jody would be like bunker number 2. I imagine alt Bobby picking up where other Bobby left off and having a bunch of lines set up for help, but you know, it's the 2020s. Maybe also some computers. And Jack will be there with all of them, sometimes helping out on hunts, sometimes helping the younger ones get acclimated, maybe helping out people who lost their parents or other family members to monsters. The point is, for me, they all deserve better. Maybe it's me getting old, but I kinda want more happy endings. I know not everyone wants that, but with characters like the one presenting is Supernatural, I wanted more for them. It would be nice to see established queer relationships living happy. It would be nice to see people who suffer from depression, PTSD, anxiety, and other similar things to get a good life. Show that things can get better, that a happy future is possible, even though sometimes you might still encounter an episode or two. I think I would have sent a message of, hey, life is shit and sometimes you get handed bad cards, but you have your whole life ahead of you and maybe someday things will get better. I know this is not a reality for many as we live in a very unkind world, but fiction is supposed to be more than that, you know? It's supposed to lift you up when you're down. And once again, I know not everyone is into happy endings. It feels like not having a real happy ending did a disservice to the characters and to the themes the story portrayed. Cause it wasn't just two brothers. Yes, it started like that, but it's a whole found family. It was team free will for real finally, and I think the ending just threw that out. I always say I want the ending to be a circle, but a circle doesn't mean let's just throw reference from the first season and ignore 15 years of development. A circle means you see all those developments condensed into an ending point. Yes, maybe throw in some references from season 1, but to show how much a character has evolved since. I made a tweet saying Supernatural is like you drew a circle with a pen without ink, and that's still how I feel. Why even draw the circle if you're not gonna see it? Why go through 15 seasons if the characters are gonna end up exactly where they would have ended if episode 1, Sam had ignored Dean and not gone on the hunt, if Jess hadn't died, or if Dean had never looked for Sam. Because if Dean had not looked for Sam, he would have died a horrible death to a monster. If Sam had stayed in Sanford with Jess, he would have lived a white picket fence life. But would he have been truly happy knowing that he left his brother behind? And that's the finale, isn't it? But once again, this is just me writing fanfiction. What would your ideal ending be? I want to add that this is an ending that leaves things wrapped up, but that's not always necessary. Oftentimes, open, ambiguous endings can be better or more interesting. An example and joy of this is Hannibal. While the finale wasn't meant to be open, there was another season meant to happen. I think the fact that it now serves as an open ending gives a little extra something. We are left with an uncertain future for our protagonist while leaving clues as to what the future might be in the after credits. I think Supernatural might have benefited from a more ambiguous ending, especially seeing how many people are just writing their own anyways. Maybe in that aspect they should have ended this series after episode 19, you know, with an extra bonus of letting us know Castiel's fine. They literally just added an extra episode to show us how they died. But that wasn't necessary, was it? A lot of my favorite endings don't leave things so final, and I think that also helps fans keep connecting with the story, imagining future scenarios after the ending. All I can say is that the finale left a lot to be desired. I think I could sum it all by saying everyone deserved better. Like the only one who I think had a nice ending was Garth. Good for him, he deserved it. 15 years for a single show is a lot, and I think everyone was expecting something different from the finale. I would say it would be hard to have a finale that would satisfy everyone. Nevertheless, I do think it suffered from lazy writing, and it gave me the sensation that they just wanted to be done with it. Of course, COVID added to a lot of its problems, but I think even without the global pandemic, most of the problems would have still been there. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening to me talk for who knows how long now if you made it through. I'm glad I ended up making this video because writing the script kind of exercised the demon in me. I had so much to say and I said it now, I feel better. I recommend you do that too, even if it's not publicly. Sometimes just writing a 20+ script to a video that you might not film helps. There's tons of stuff I didn't include here, but I wanted to mostly focus on the things I didn't like about the finale. I know I went off the rail a few times, but would it be my video if I didn't? I don't know when I'll see you again, but I have a script written for a Christmas video, so maybe by Christmas. But as always, if you have any suggestion, please let me know. I have a couple of other videos have scripts, but you know me, I write like 5 scripts at the same time. I also got a suggestion for a friend for a true crime series, so maybe that's gonna happen. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos from me, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching this hella long episode, and special thanks to my patrons. And I will see you next time. Bye.